All right. Welcome to the episode today. It's still a Kings vibe. Today, I have a very good friend with me. We've known each other for a few years, and he's definitely been one of my motivators for sure. And you're definitely going to see it after this conversation. He's probably the only person, maybe the first person I've seen from New Mexico, for real. So I knew I had to listen to him, you know. But what's going on, bro?
Man, thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's been a minute.
I watched the four-part series, man, and you guys really said I got to get on with it. I got
Yeah.
to get on with it. Let's talk.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Let's talk.
So this is definitely gonna be a good one. I know. Just like all our other videos. But he's definitely a man of intelligence, and he has a lot of knowledge, and you're definitely gonna see it right now. So walk us through how you grew up in your life and some of your biggest influences. You know, especially growing up in New Mexico. Like I said, I don't know anybody who grew up in New Mexico, so I want to hear that.
Okay. Yes, I'm from New Mexico. 505 stand up. I'm from a part of the country where, not like you say, not a lot of people know about what we are, what we do, and it's not a place that I would go back to. There's a lot of growth happening and a lot of things happening. Miss the food, but I think New Mexico, is a place where maybe I outgrew it. Best way to say it. It's a good place to have a family, So I'm very grateful for my mom, my dad, but I feel like New Mexico was something that I outgrew. Um, my parents coming up, my parents divorced at a young age. I don't even remember them being together. I don't really ever remember seeing them together. My dad ended up moving to Denver, Colorado, and I stayed with my mom in Farmington. Um, and my mom was probably my biggest influence. She's been I mean, I can't really compare to anybody else's mom, but she's been solid, up and down. She traveled to football games. She drove 12 hours, or 12 or 14 hours to watch her play football by herself. So from time to time I think about it and it gets a little emotional for me because, at the end of the day, everybody talks about mom. Everybody, raps about mom. Everybody has something to say about mom. Man, my mom's really been a big, big staple in my life to everything I did, and I feel like sometimes even on the drive over here, I was just thinking, I was like, man, talk about mom, but it's like mom's been a book that she read, like she read a book and just knew what she wanted me to do and kind of made it happen. So that's kind of where I stand when it comes to moms. So, she paved the way. My mom works to this day. She'll still work 12-hour shifts at a power plant where she was not. I'm not sure if she was one of the first women to work there, but she was definitely the first African American woman to work where she works in a uh, male dominated environment, and has been working there since 1980. I think 80, 82, early 80s. I know that she's been working in that environment. So and worked there strong. That's the thing, strong. And it's due to all the regulations and things that are going on politically. The power plant is actually shutting down. She's a cold board operator, so she's not behind a desk or anything. She's a cold board operator. She shovels snow. She drives front end loaders. She does anything, anything physical. And it's a politically driven thing that's going on at her job where it's actually going to get shut down here. I think 2022 or 2024, one or the other. So it's been it's just sit back and watch, and you think it's like, man, mom really really set an example. She was rough, she was tough growing up, but she really set an example. Funny story about her. I never live it down. When this comes out and it all gets edited and stuff, she'll finally hear me admit it. She outran my football team when I was in 8th grade. She was she was in her 40s, definitely. And one day we lined up. We were doing wind sprints for football, and we all lined up, and my whole 8th grade team. My mom outran us in a 40-yard sprint.
Wow. Wow.
So you know that'll tell you, the drive that she has. She's always, and she to this day she'll walk 3 miles. After she gets off work, she loves working in the yard and stuff like that. So I really take up after her and try and try and be the man that she wants me to be.
Yeah. Well, shout outs to all the women and all the moms out there that's motivating some of us. Massive shout outs to my mom over in New York for sure.
Mommy.
Yeah. So you talk about sports, and I know at one point you got into boxing and MMA. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. Shout out to Tiger Showman, mixed martial arts. Now Gary Hellman, mixed martial arts down in Tampa. Um, so I wrestled as a young age. I started Taekwondo. I ended up being a brown belt in Taekwondo as a young age. I kind of, I got picked on because of it, so I quit. I really regret that. Uh, but I went from Taekwondo to wrestling, and then I kind of gave up on wrestling. And at a young age, it was kind of weird for me to be wrestling, and I started playing football. And but back to your question, I think martial arts has been very beneficial to me in my adult life. I went on deployment, so I was stationed my first 5 years in the Navy. I was stationed at a Marine unit in Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii. And the Marines, we worked hand in hand with the Marines, but they still did their thing on the side, what makes Marines Marines. Uh, and they had this program called MAP, and I used to kind of watch them from the side, and I didn't get involved because it's kind of a structured program, and not, you just kind of, when they're doing their thing, you don't ever get in their way. But I ended up, but I went on deployment, and I had this guy named Isaac Cordova. He was from New Mexico too. He was from Espanola, New Mexico. He was deployed with me, and he started teaching me what you call the Gracie techniques. It's just the fundamentals that the martial arts that they taught you. Basic chokehold, basic locks, things of that nature, and I got kind of good at it. And then there's another group of guys that was in SIG that was stationed out there. One of my good friends, Dennis Murphy, took me under his wing and started teaching me. Boy, he was rough. So some days I really questioned if I was gonna, because there used to be a bus that drove you back and forth from one base to another. And I questioned if I was gonna go back because it was some grinding, hard training. But I found myself getting better and better. Um, And at the end of that tour, around 2013, I had gotten so good where I was actually able to, do moves on him, submit him. I was there. I went to a tournament in Barcelona, Paris, France. I went to a tournament in Paris, France, and I won first place in Paris, France. I was, what? I think I'm going to try out fighting. So at the time, I knew I was going to Tampa, Florida. So I reached out to this guy by the name of Gary Hellman, and he's been coaching. He's still coaching to this day. He's been coaching over 40 years, and he took me under his wing, and I just started fighting. I fought for the World Class Fight League, Tampa. I fought for a kickboxing circuit out there in Tampa, and I did it, and I really had aspirations to become a pro fighter, but at the time I was a Navy recruiter. Those are two worlds that just don't mesh very well. So obviously I'm still in the Navy, so who won that fight. But it was definitely an experience and something that I still look back on and I value, and I still train from time to time. I don't train like I want to, but I still get the work in and try and do what you do. But there's big values from martial arts and boxing. Dietary values, learning, watching nutrition, watching your weight. It also helps. There's also big benefit from knowing who you are. Everyone can say they're something. They're this, they're that, they're this or that. But once you get punched in the face, it'll all get changed, right? But martial arts, it's a humbling experience, and no one steps on it. It's just good the first day. You know what I mean? You may be able to punch and kick hard, but someone knows how to block someone who's trained for 10 years knows how to block the kicks, block those punches. And even if you stop, I went back last December and I trained with a group of guys here in Pensacola, and man, they mopped me with the floor because I haven't trained. So it's just one of those things where it's a life lesson that you got to keep going and going and going. it's literally the marathon of life versus any other sport that's out there. So
So I'm gonna admit that when we first met in 2016, he used to talk about his MMA career and stuff, and back then, of course, we didn't know each other and stuff, but we'd always listen up and stuff. But when I bought my first 14-ounce gloves, it was because of him, and I still have it at home right now. So one of these days, maybe we can practice or something. But so you joined the military out of New Mexico, right?
yes,
Him and Navy recruiter.
Yes.
We've seen videos and pictures of stuff that you've done. And you joined the Blue Angels, and you did a lot of good stuff.
yes.
At what point did you develop an interest in becoming a pilot?
Being a pilot, honestly, it dates back to when I was a kid. I grew up, my parents were divorced, so I'd fly in between Farmington, New Mexico, and Denver, Colorado. Like any other kid, he's gonna cry and weep. He misses his mom, misses his dad, whatever the situation would be. But I remember them allowing me to come to the cockpit of the Beechcraft King Air. I just would be so amazed, All those tears went away because I'd just be so fascinated with it. And then I played defensive back. I was a running back and I was a defensive back in high school. Being a DB, I was always bored back there. Sometimes I'd catch myself looking up at the sky and just seeing the aircraft fly above. And they say once a man embraces fight, he's always going to look to the sky for the aircraft. I've always been looking for the sky, man. I've always looked to the sky to see what aircraft are flying above. And it really, those young days, I don't know, I wish I knew those pilots to this day because they were very inspirational to me. One of my first adult job was I worked at an airport fueling planes. My mom, I had a full ride scholarship playing football, and I dropped out of college because I went down there and it was wild. But I came home and my mom told me that I can't stay at home anymore. I'm 18 years old, it's time to do my thing. But if I join the military, she'll let me stay until it's time to go. So she told me to try and join the Coast Guard, and I ended up joining the Navy. Good Navy recruiter did what he's supposed to do. I walked in there asking for the Coast Guard. He told me that, yeah, we work with the Coast Guard. Come on to have a seat. And the rest is history. But I selected to be an aviation ordnance man because that's the only aviation job they offer, right? And never really seen aircraft whenever I was working because I was the type of aviation ordnance man I was, and we didn't really work around aircraft that much. Fast forward to being a Navy recruiter, I had one of my pillars is what I call Captain King. So I had finished my associate's degree after being in the Navy about 6 years. And he really embraced me, right? He was like, well, keep going. And I was just like, man, I was happy to be graduated from high school at that time. So receiving an associate's degree was just the icing on the cake. Like, you're not, that's where we're going to be. I'm not getting a bachelor's. That's too much. And then he sent some guy. We had a little thing called Black, Brown, and College Bound. Black, Brown, College Bound in Tampa. It's a bunch of influencers. At the time I'm a recruiter. There's a bunch of influencers. He actually had two pilots. Commander Deswarn Bowens. He just retired this past July. And then I can't think of the other gentleman's name. Both of them are commanders, and they inspired me. They came to inspire these 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids that are going to college. And they inspired me. They're like, nah, man, you can be a pilot. You can be a pilot. You can be a pilot in the Navy. You can do this. Man, I still had that little bit of doubt in my mind, though. And then I got a call one day. I had won junior state of the quarter, but due to the geographic area of NRD Miami, I had to drive all the way down from Tampa to Miami to meet with my CO, who was at the time Commander King. And he took me out to lunch, me and my chief, and he sat down. He's like, "Yo, I'm not gonna make you go to school, but I'm gonna make you go to school." He's like, "There's a lot of opportunities for you in the world out there. You have the capabilities, and kind of goes back to those pillars. It's like there's people who build you before you even know it, and that's where it all started. Really, is the aviation right then and there is where it started, and then had a chief who was running my division as a recruiter. Uh, I had a lot of good chiefs. In fact, my chief was Miles Burdett, and he just embraced the fact that I was going to school. If I needed to, go get tutoring for the test, whatever, this guy, at the time he was in first class, but I would consider that man my chief forever. He just allowed me to do whatever I needed to do to succeed. My DLCPO, he's like went and found a place for me to go get a I guess an explorer flight, right? So it's where you go up and they'll take you on and they'll just kind of shoot you around Tampa to see if you like flying. Oh, okay, I'll do that. Went out and found this for me, and so I went and did it, and from then on, it just really, really stuck with me. Well, then I got the opportunity to fly. I had the opportunity to come and fly for the Blue Angels, and the first day was a Sunday, and we all go there, and you're flying, and you're talking to everybody on the team. Well, the team was coming back from somewhere, and they did a maneuver called the pitch up break. And if I don't think, out of all the sports I've done, football days, it's cold. It's a cold walk to the ring when you're going to fight. You're going to step in the cage. It's a cold walk. But I don't think I've ever gotten the chills I got from the day that I seen the pitch up break that day. And even to this day, when I see it, I still get those same chills because it's a fascinating thing to see pilots do things like that. The rest of the maneuvers, yeah, they're cool, but for some reason the pub really, really, really sat with me, and it still does to this day. It was so motivating. From that second on, I told myself I wanted to be a pilot, and I really set my eyes on it, and I worked for it. I applied to the Blue Angels. We worked together. I worked 3 years. I was able to finish my degree. I got my private pilot's license through all that inspiration and talent that walks through there, and that's what led for me to seek naval aviation as my outlet.
So you were fascinated about airplanes, and you kind of wanted to be a pilot as a kid, but maybe your heart was not really set on it. There's something you wanted to do, but it was just one of those things as a kid that you're really interested in it, so you developed that.
Yes.
But fast forward a few years later, I'll say a lot of years later, you eventually got your private pilot license. Do you think that you might have got a late start to what you call your dream?
Yeah, I look back at it now. I really did get a late start. I wish my first chief is the really who set the bug in my ear, right? My first chief, Nate Boyer, set the bug in my ear. I'm not gonna say what he said on camera, but he told me, for lack of better words, "Hey, you go to school, you can become a pilot." And it didn't really, it didn't ring. People tell you things in your life, right? And 90% of the time, it's in one ear and out the other. You know what I mean? Because you hear it and you move on. But it was one of those things that made a little ding, and you hear it, you hear it, you hear it, and every once in a while it'll pop up. You'll check it out, and you just get discouraged or something, right? But I look back at it now, I was like, well, I could have possibly, while I was in Hawaii, got my pilot's license then. You know, that could have changed the course. I mean, obviously, everyone's fate is everything for everybody, right? But I look back at it like, man, that could have been a whole different conversation if I just would have finished school within those first 5 years and came here. I finished 5 years and finished my pilot's license. I mean, I could have been in the Navy still. I could have been a commercial pilot for some airline working. Who knows what it would have been at that point? But at the time, it was, it just didn't interest me. I'm actually a spec war. I tried to do the spec war thing. My community did not let me release me to become a special warfare guy, but that's what my mind was set on at the time, and it just didn't work out for me.
So there's a lot of people that that have fields that they have interest in. You know, what would you tell them? You know, coming from somebody who knew you wanted to be a pilot at a really young age. You know, so I would say maybe you probably didn't put a lot of work as a kid. You know,
Yeah.
until you were grown and you kind of you were like, okay, now I got to do it. But there's a lot of people out there who have interest in so many different fields. You know, what would you tell them?
Well, if I look at it now, look back at it, I mean, I have a flight instructor out here, and this guy wanted to be a pilot since he was in third grade field trip. He told me, and he started working on it as a teenager. Um, and I found that very inspiring because as a teenager, I was all over the place. You know, and a lot of teenagers are all over the place. As a recruiter, I had a teenager tell me he wanted to be a brain surgeon, and I was so fond of that because what teenager knows that he wants to be a brain surgeon?
Yeah.
You know, you look at it and it's like, you want to be a what? A brain surgeon? I wasn't even thinking about. I didn't even think about a brain at that time. You know, I just, I guess, what it boils down to for me is your environment, right? Um, my environment there was no pilots around me coming up. You know, there's nobody that knew anything about being a pilot. Like I said, my mom worked at a power plant, so even when I was at 20, 18 years old, signing my life away to the Navy, I was set on doing 4 years and going and working at that same power plant that my mom worked at. 'Cause that's all I knew. I didn't have the broad view of what goes on in life, and that really, once I realized that I could write my own book, then is whenever I started searching outside for what I could do.
Okay.
And really, I didn't search outside because the military has everything that I wanted. It's got the structure, it's got everything I need in my life. So I didn't really look outside, but I looked outside of what I thought of then. Uh, but for the young individuals or older individuals, it doesn't really matter what you want to do. I mean, there's a gentleman who's a retired lieutenant colonel I know that is working on becoming a commercial pilot at 60 years old to this day. So he retired from the Marine Corps, he went and became a law professor, and now he's working on becoming a pilot. So what I say is that don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself. Stay true to what you want to do, and seek out individuals who are doing that. If you can seek out somebody who is, you want to be a pilot, find a flight school. There's many programs. I wish I knew about the Civil Air Patrol. That's individuals, that are flying at a young age, 13, 14 years old. They're working on getting their private pilot's license. You got to be 16, but they start gaining hours at that young age and learning about all of it. There's so many programs out there. You know, don't restrict yourself as an adult. A lot of people have this thing where maybe they've gotten out of shape in their life or there's something going on. It's never too late. It's never too late to do what you want to do. If you want to freaking lose 100 pounds, do it. I don't care what your job is. I don't care what, you know what I mean? You are your first hurdle. And once you get over what your mind is telling you, then you move on to doing what you want to
Okay. Okay. You are your first hurdle. Is what he said. So obviously you've named a lot of people who helped you and motivated you. But how much of your accomplishment so far is just from your personal drive?
do. I've got, like I said earlier, I've got a lot of pillars that I say, it's like a table. People that just held me up.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, my mom is one on her own. Um, I look at Mr. King, and man, it's so much inspiration. He just put something about him being in the Navy 38 years, 36 years. I feel like, he was a turning point in my career. Um, uh, the CO that I had after that, Commander Kettles, he retired. Uh, he was another one. Anybody can say what they want, but he gonna talk to you as a person, and that was another pillar that I had in my career. He made me a first class in the United States Navy. If that wasn't a breath of fresh air, I don't know what is. Uh, Behind every good officer is a chief, right? Well, I've got a couple of them. My first chief, he, like I said, he rang that bell behind me. He rang that bell, and it's still here, man. I never forget him. I wrote him. I'd let him know, what he did for me. Uh, my best friend Miles, he's a chief right now, and I tell you what, man, he's had a serious amount of contributions to me today. From 2015 till now, I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for that guy. I will honestly say that out there in public. He never. He's one that I could always call on. Another one of my chiefs, who's a senior chief now, was Walt Eisenman. I ran into him while I was in OCS, Officer Candidate School. I didn't even see him, but I heard his voice, and boy, I almost went to tears, man, because it's like I was kneeling down to tie my shoes, and he goes, "What's this guy doing here?" And I just knew his voice, and I was like, "Get out of here! You got to be kidding me!" And I didn't even look up. I looked up to the guy next to me. I was like, "That is not who I think it is." And I looked up, and it's him, boy. It's like I think about it, and it's like these guys have been there for me so much. Jesus Colazo, always in my ear. He's like you as a leader. You know what I mean? Hey, what you doing? What you doing? What you doing? You doing this? You doing that? It's like, if it wasn't for those guys, them three, I wouldn't have been a first. I wouldn't have made E6 in the Navy. I wouldn't have been a first class petty officer in the Navy. My direct contribution as an officer, this path began probably right when I joined the Blue Angels. The end of my first year is when it really, really happened. I got pulled aside by the CO, the outgoing CO, Captain Benaki, and he's like, Rod, I know you have some tough times. He goes, but I know I see it in you you can keep running. You can keep running. I know you won't stop. And hear him say that I won't stop, that means I can't stop. Can't stop. So I kept running. And then I look at I had a pilot, Damon Cruz, and I had like 4-minute conversations with him as a crew chief. I'd have a 4-minute conversation with him, if that. That was probably about 2 minutes. But those 2 minutes are probably some of the most valuable minutes I've had in my Navy career. Over the years, because you sit there and you talk to someone, and that right there is in itself is something. To be able to say what you got to say over 2 minutes time period and allow it to motivate you is a lot.
Yeah.
But it just tells you the caliber individuals you have by you. And the support was real. My peers, I had a group of peers, man. You guys always just kept with me. Rod, man, you gonna do it, Rod. And it really showed, because y'all all helped me out. They're my family. Everybody wants to support their family to the best abilities.
Yeah.
And that's probably what really pushed me. You got to support your family to the best of abilities. I think that was like the driving factor, and that was the self motivation. So you have all these other people that are going to help you and support you and move you, but that inner drive, you got to dig real deep and say, hey, what are you going to do? And shout out to E.T. Thomas, man. I'm gonna go ahead and say it, man. Eric Thomas, man. I listen to that guy faithfully. I'll be honest with you, man. And there's one skit that he put out there, and he said, "You too." He goes, and it goes back to me and you and everybody else that was around us. It's like, I was going to get my bachelor's degree, and I'm hearing about, I think at the time you had just got like 2 associate's degree, and you was going for your bachelor's degree too, and I had a couple other guys that were completing theirs, and to hear, fellow African Americans, that were doing their thing. It's like, I know Clarence Presley had just finished his master's degree,
Yeah.
and it's like, so I remember one day you told me, he's like, yeah, man, I'm trying to get the bachelor's in cyber technology. Is that what you're still doing? I think.
No. So I switched up a little bit.
See, I still remember y'all.
Yeah. We had that conversation, but yeah, I switched up a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. So I remember it, and I was like, you too? I was like, I thought I was the only one. Well, that's what Eric Thomas said. He's like, they was like, it wouldn't, he was talking to his friends, and none of his friends were out there doing what they had to do. And that's kind of what I went through at a young age, All my friends told me not to join the Navy. And when I came home, they had their hand out looking for something, right? But I found a group of people who really had a like mind, We didn't talk every day. We talked a lot. We didn't see each other every day, but we had a like mind. And I think that was a big part of the inspiration too. And personal freedom was my big drive. Personal freedom. In the military, where none of us are really off the hook, right? All the way up to the top. No one is off the hook. No one can do what they want. We have checks and balances all around the place. But when you move up, you still do gain that access to personal freedom. And I think that was really it, man. I'm not gonna tell the exact story when I was like, I'm done. I'm doing this for me. But I will say that it really said, hey, if you need to get off work to talk to somebody, or if you need to get off work to do something for yourself, right now, someone else might find that invaluable. But if you move up and you go to another class in another place in the military, they will help you. And my mentor, when I started my package, was my master chief, my command master chief, Master Chief Taylor. He was the one. He was the one that said, "You're right. Your odds are better off somewhere else." They always say, "Well, the Chiefs breed the Chiefs," and this, that, and the other. No, he wanted me to be what I wanted. That was probably the icing on the cake. And that man supported me and helped me out. But personal drive was the people around me and my family. I think that's what really pushed me.
Yeah. Yesterday, a friend of mine sent me, I think it was an audio from ET, and he was talking about how around this time, it's a lot going on. It's racial stuff going on. It's COVID going on. It's all this stuff going on. But at the end of the day, if he doesn't make this $1 million, he's really the only person he can blame. And I'm like, man, you're right.
Yes.
It got to start from you. It really has to start from you. And he's been through a lot, just like a lot of people. But if he's where he's at today, because he wanted it as bad as all the motivated that motivated him, So it definitely got to start from you. So I think it's a common mentality or maybe notion out there. If you really want to motivate yourself, you're gonna run into those people and you're gonna run into those things, right? You can call it whatever you want to call it: struggles, adversities, enemies, hate, whatever you want to call it. But when you hit those walls, how do you deal with them? Is that so? Let's try to narrow it down. Is it more like hey, I'm dealing with it right away, or okay, I'm gonna push it to the side and wait for a better day to deal with it?
I'll be honest with you, I'm a head-on type of person, right?
There you go.
I'm a head-on type of person. I'm gonna meet the wall. I'm gonna meet the wall. But I feel like sometimes that played into some of my downfalls. I just spoke on my guy, Master Chief Ziegler, and some days he would pull me in and say, "Hey, chill out. There's things that you're doing that you know you're doing too much. Just let it ride, let it ride." And I wish I'm working on that to this day. 31 years old, I'm still working on that. Not all situations can you take on by yourself. Um, some situations you got to reach out laterally, and that's my downfall because I will run right to it. I'll run right to it and say, "Hey, what are you doing?" That's all I seen. My mom is the same way. She'll run right to the situation. There ain't no playing around. But I think you gotta balance yourself. The situations you gotta run with, but if it's gonna ruffle feathers, reach out laterally and say, "Hey, what can I do to make this path easiest?" You know what I mean? Let's make this stress free. Let's not give ourselves no gray hairs. You know,
Yeah.
that's really what you got to do because the head on approach is gonna give you gray hairs because in the way our the day and age that we work now, the head on approach maybe would have worked a long time ago. But nowadays, it's all about the networking and
Yeah.
seeing what you can kind of plan that tug of war. Like, all right, what can I get? You get. What can I do? You do. And just working well with others is what really helps you out. Is going to be the best means for you because head on, you're doing it by yourself. You know, I'm having an issue here, and I'm gonna say, hey, I'm having this issue. I tell you, you might be like, shh, and I tell you exactly what I'm gonna do. You're just gonna tell me, hey, all right, go ahead. I mean, that's what you got to do. But if I say, hey, I'm having this issue, what do you think? Then I hear what you have to say. I have what I have to say, and you might reach out laterally to somebody else that's on your left that says, hey, you could do this. So that just gave me three different options of way of going about it versus my one way
Yeah.
that will run me right into the wall, and then I got to start climbing the wall by myself too.
Yeah.
So that's the best way I can explain that.
Man, so, if I'm taking anything from this, use your resources. Sometimes you got to take a step back, reassess, and hit it again. Of course, if you take a step back, doesn't really mean that you're not going to attack it again. It's just you take a step back, reassess what your options are, what you're dealing with, and hit it again. Yeah, man. We again we've had a lot of good conversations. This is a very good one. My man went through a lot. He has been through a lot, just like a lot of us. A lot of people that's watching right now. But he also has overcome a lot of things. He has overcome a lot of struggles, a lot of adversity. Coming from a small town in New Mexico, he probably, even though he had that drive, he probably never thought that he was going to be a pilot and have a private pilot license. But he does now. It's days that we at work we talk about things and it's a really hard day. Everybody's tired and just like a lot of people, you reach out to all the people, all your peers who have like mentality, and I go to Rod and I'm like, hey, what you got planned for the weekend? And I'm thinking since we're all tired from the week, we're probably gonna just chill, and he will hit me with it. Oh, I gotta go to what was it, Fort Wayne Beach?
Milton.
Milton. I gotta go to Milton and go talk to somebody. I gotta go practice on something. I'm like, man, what's my excuse right now? So that's a lot of those conversations. So definitely, I appreciate all the conversations we had, and it's very evident that
Likewise.
your drive, your motivation is getting you places. I think we're gonna wrap it up, but before we do, we're gonna give him the floor so he can give his closing words. And if he has anything for anybody out there that might be going through anything, might need some type of motivation, probably need to dig into their inner soul to find some type of drive and some type of motivation. Something you want to close it up with.
If I can say anything to anybody, I would say do what you got to do what you want to do. My brother told me that. A few years ago, about 10 years ago now. Do what you got to do what you want to do. Uh, and I wish I would have embraced it a long time ago too. I'll be honest. But I think if you you bite it, you bite it. That way, but you keep that goal in sight, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you want to be a brain surgeon, keep that goal in sight and bite it, bite it, bite it. You're gonna hear everyone say no, yes, maybe so, no, yes, maybe so. You're gonna hear more no's, more maybe so's than you are gonna hear yes combined. I promise you. So, do what you have to do what you want to do, and look, find things. You know, there's so many platforms with Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, blah blah blah, all of it. Find people that will inspire you. There's this guy that goes by the name Mel the Traveler. Uh, you know, when I was doing, you know, I didn't. He ended up getting his private pilot's license before I did, but we started about the same time. And now I see my guy, and he's flying rappers. You know what I mean? He's flying them around in a little private plane, in a little general aviation plane. He's doing this. He's getting interviewed. He's doing this. So, you know, but to me, just seeing that, it was like, man, that's a lot. So if you are wanting something or you're looking for something, reach out on the platforms and see who's doing it. You know, and you know you may not ever even have a conversation with them, but you will still, you know what I mean? It'll almost be like you know this person, even though you don't know them. And that's kind of what did it, like, when it comes to Mel. Mel the Traveler, man. I'm going to tag you in this video. We're going to see what's up, man. I got to get down there and talk to you. I'm going to get up to Atlanta and talk to you, bro. But, you know, just watching this guy. I was just watching a video of this guy on the way here. He was doing aerobatics and spin training in his aircraft, you know, where you go up and you're doing loops and you're spinning. He's a civilian and he's doing these things on, you know, in a type of aircraft, in a tail dragging aircraft. You know, you look at that stuff, you say, wow, you know, this guy came a long way. You know, I want to be where he's at one day, you know. And that's what you got to do. Reach out and just from a distance watch what people are doing. You know, find yourself being a hater, stop. But please, you know, don't allow it to drive you in the negative direction. Allow it to be a positive vibe. Just look out and see what they're doing. You know what I mean? I see these guys out here every day working out, you know, putting their videos, working out. I'm like, man, I don't know how many times they've inspired me in the last 2 months. At least once a week, I'm like, man, I gotta get out there. DJ and Kwame are out there working out. See my guy Kittle's out there in Guam.
Shout out to AK.
Yeah, Kittle's out there in Guam. He's out there working out. He's teaching. Like, man, I need to get out there and talk to somebody. You know, I need to get out there and talk to somebody. Tell my story too. You know, I got a lot. I got a lot to give. There's just a lot of people out there that could use you as a source, and there's a lot of people that you could use as a source. But if we continue to link up, whether you're male, female, Caucasian, African American, Hispanic, no matter what you are, if you continue to link up and chain together, we as a whole will all lift each other up. And that's what I really want to end that off on. But do what you got to do what you want to do. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time and, you know, the knowledge and all of that. Really appreciate it. And a lot of us are taking motivation from what you do. I promise you that. Thank you for spending time with us today and watching this video. I hope you pick something out of it. But make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can.
I want one of these shirts. I want one of these shirts. Hey, shout out to Lacoste though. Lacoste.
That's easy. You get one.
Lacoste. IG, that Fly Guy RS. You know, whatever you want to find, man. Find me. Let's talk. If I can help out.
We're gonna put his social media handle, you know, on the video, so you can, if you want to link up to him personally, you can. But make sure you definitely share and subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can bring you more. You can get more of our live updates. Thank you. We'll see you around.